Hi everyone and welcome to the video. In this video, I'm going to try to answer the question, what is the Book of Benjamin Kareth? My name is Elijah Cohen. Formerly it was Nathaniel Adlita, Daniel Cole, and Benjamin Kareth. I've changed my name legally 3 times, and all of that's explained in the book series. But I was born into a family. I have 7 siblings. When I was young, we traveled all over the world doing missionary work, Christian missionary work, and I went off to college at 17 and began living for myself. And about 5 years ago, God broke into my world and changed everything. And so this book series is basically at its roots the telling of my story and my journey, listening and obeying God. So where did the Book of Benjamin Kareth begin? It began as a blog. Shortly after I started to listen and obey the Lord, he told me that he wanted me to start a blog and start writing every day, just my travels and my journeys and what he was asking me to do and like the results of all of that obedience. And so I started writing a blog, and that turned into another blog. And from that blog, then God was like, I want you to write a book. And so I put the 2 blogs together and made the first book. It's actually part 2, which is Restoring the 7th Color. And then from the 1 book, he told me that I was going to be writing 10 books. And from the 10 books, it became 100 books, which is the series as it is now. So that's where it originated. It went from a blog to a book to 10 books to 100 books. So why 100 books? I'll give you the really short version. All of these things, this video would be so long if I tried to explain everything in super detail. That's why there's 28 books written about this journey so far, because it's been literally God leading me step by step. But the 100 books come from a vision that I had where Jesus took me to heaven and basically showed me the 100 books that I write in my lifetime. And the 100 books is the series, the Book of Benjamin Kareth. And so that's why 100 books, is because that's what Jesus says I write. So that's what I'm shooting for. So how am I writing the series? I'm about 6 months ago, the Lord gave me a schedule. He said, I want you to write this book series, work on 1 book every 2 hours, 7 times a day, 6 days a week. So at 7 in the morning, 9 in the morning, 11 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon, 5 in the afternoon, and 7 p.m. 7 times a day. I write. I set an alarm in my phone, and every 2 hours I write for about 30 minutes. I pray, and then I write, listen to the Lord and write, and I work on a different book every time slot. So I'm writing about 4.5 hours a day, 6 days a week right now, and that's how I'm writing the books. And it's a very intense schedule. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of focus, a lot of, it gives me a little bit of time between, but not much. But by the time I finish a writing session, I have about an hour and 15 minutes, hour 30 minutes, something like that, depending on how long I write, because I don't have a set timer for how I write. So it doesn't leave a lot of time in my days to do anything else. And anything else that I do is broken apart by the writing session. So really, the writing has absorbed my life, and I'm relying a lot on God to provide for my needs during this. So what is the timeline for completing the book series? About 2 months ago, I was sitting one evening and God just flushed out the whole series, all the book titles. I was like, in a matter of 2 hours, he had arranged and told me the titles and gave me the time frames. Basically, I'll finish the book series on October 2nd, 2027. It'll be 4 years from now. I'll be writing 7 books at a time every 4 months, with a week break in between those 4-month breaks. You can view the full timeline if you want on the website, tbobkministries.com. You can see all the titles, and you can see the dates and the little writing sessions that are coming. Right now I'm writing 7 books at a time. About halfway through, a little under halfway through this writing session. So Yeah, it's a pretty intensive schedule for the next 4 years, but completely doable the way God's taught me step by step, getting to here, and that's really kind of incredible, to be led by the Lord to write such a massive book series in such a short period of time. On the timeline, it shows the whole series took about 3,333 days to write, 9 years and 1 month, I believe. So yeah, check out the timeline on the website. So what are the books about? The books are there's 28 books written and there's going to be 100, and they're all different. Each book is so different. I feel like the witness testaments are all the telling of my journey day by day. Restoring the seventh color, which is part 2, that's the start of the journey. Where All Journeys Begin, there's going to be 4 or 5 books in the Where All series, and that's like a fictional vision. It's a vision that I have telling of a journey with God, basically. And the whole series, the tagline for the series is to know Him and to make Him known. So the goal, I think, of the whole series is to know more about God and to make Him known to other people. So that's what the series is about. Will the books be on audiobook? Yes, the books are going to be on audiobook. Of the 28 books that are written, 4 of them are art books, so they won't be audiobooks, but the other 24 are becoming audiobooks. 18 of them are complete and available on audible.com or Apple iTunes. So you can check them out there. The narrators are awesome. They did a really good job. Highly recommend picking up and giving them a listen. Just wanted to thank you for watching the video and learning more about this book series. I hope that you take the time to really dive into it and learn what it is. And I wanted to thank you for all the support and the prayers and financial support that I desperately need to complete the series. I'm going to be spending the next 4 years working on completing all 72 books that remain, and I'm about halfway through writing the next 7. So you can look for those in mid-October. They'll be available on Amazon.com with the rest of the series, as well as the audiobooks coming out sometime after that. So I think we'll end this video with a bunch of the clips from the audiobooks, because that's a really exciting part. So have a wonderful day.
"Hey, Marcus!" one of my fellow centurions, Killian, yelled from the doorway as he entered the room. "Looks like you got another one. Lucky you. What does that make for you today? 5? 6? He laughed to himself at the scowl that must have been plainly visible on my face. He crossed the room to lean against the wall near me. "This will be 6, I think. I've lost count," I replied, turning to face him. "Who is it this time? Murderer? Thief? God forbid, a rapist? A man named Jesus. Doran told me that he claimed to be the king of the Jews. Imagine that. He's nothing, though. Just another teacher from Galilee, I think. The high priests hate him, so he must have done something horrible, or just made him mad. It doesn't take much, you know." His smile always seemed to calm me. He was young and had just arrived at our company some months ago. I liked him. He wasn't jaded yet, like I was. I laughed and quipped back. "King of the Jews, you say? Haven't whipped one of those today. I guess I can take out all my anger at Caesar on this guy." I hated Caesar, our current king. Endless wars and taxation were the reason I had joined the Legion in the first place. I had to pay my bills somehow, and I was strong and still young enough to know that hard work paid off in the end. Yeah, well, Pilate asked the crowd if he should release the murderer Barabbas or Jesus to them. They shouted Barabbas. They chose a murderer over a teacher. Killian exclaimed, shaking his head in disbelief. "Imagine that," I answered. "It wasn't my job to decide or care about politics. I just carried out my orders like any good soldier would. That was my job, and I did it well." Across the Roman Empire, I was known for bringing as much pain as possible to a man without killing him, through the skillful way I handled my whip. Another soldier entered the room and yelled to me that they were bringing Jesus down to the courtyard for his flogging, and I should hurry and bring my whip. I rolled my eyes. "Back to work," I said to Killian as I slapped him hard on the back. "Let's get this over with, and maybe we can get some grub. I'm starving." Killian smiled back, nodded, and replied, "I am hungry." He then trotted off to ready the ropes that would hold the prisoner in place while I did what I did best. I walked over to a table where my whip lay and looked down at it. It had been handcrafted and boasted a full 7 arm lengths of hand-woven, braided, and black hair. At the end of the whip, it split into 8 different shorter tails. Each of these 8 tails had been covered in tiny shards of anything metal and sharp. It wasn't a tool for training horses anymore. Now it was an instrument of torture.
Chapter 19. The Long Trail. September 7th, 2018. I'm sitting in an apartment in New York now. Great night's sleep, feeling rested and alive. Thinking back as I often do at the past weeks and just marveling at how God works. 2 days ago, I didn't have a clue how to get here, but God knew how. He works in ways we can't understand, and His timing is perfect. After staying up all night waiting for my flight, our plane was delayed for 5 hours due to weather in New York. God's timing. But He brought me here safely at the perfect time. My journey ahead is a long one, with adventures around every turn. How do I trust God? Because I've seen Him take care of me before, and He's doing it today, and He will do it tomorrow. Yesterday, while I was waiting in the airport for my delayed flight, I needed to get a pair of headphones that had a 3M plug. Technical details not that important. I have very little money, so I went to one of the fancy audio stores next to my gate. I asked which were the cheapest headphones that they had. $17.99. Ouch. Now when you have nothing, $17 is quite the price tag. I asked the lady if there was another place to buy them, and she suggested a store down the terminal a bit. I said thanks and headed down there. God's favor. I walked in and found a pair of headphones. Let me just say that everything in the mall is very expensive. But I walked out of that store with headphones, a battery backup for my phone, and a pack of breath mints for $10. I love watching my Father God take care of me. $10. I'm still blown away. When you love and serve the living God, you get some perks. He blesses you in ways you never saw coming. Here are some more ways God has blessed me just while I traveled from Kansas City to New York. I was sitting eating a barbecued pork sandwich, chips, and some pickles. When my meal arrived, I saw the pickles and thought, my favorite. There were 2 on the plate, and I quickly downed one of them. I started up a conversation with a couple of people sitting close to me. Then, when I glanced back down at my plate, I froze. There were 2 pickles on the plate. 2. Wait, what? I thought. I had 2 pickles when the plate arrived, ate one, and now there were 2 on my plate. God spoils me. Later that evening, as I waited in the airport terminal for my flight the next day, I'm pretty sure I met an angel. I was sitting there texting and listening to worship music, and this old man comes and sits down and has what looks like a violin case with him. I love violin music, one of my favorites, so I took off my headphones and asked him if that was a violin case. He pulls the case up off the floor and says, "No, but you're very close. Keep guessing." I say I have no idea. He says, "It's a viola." Then he opens the case and pulls out the instrument and hands it to me. It is the most beautiful instrument I've ever seen. I look at it in awe as he tells me about where he got it and its history. It was stunning. I then hand it back to him, and pulling out the bow, he starts to play it, right there in the middle of that airport terminal. This old man starts to play viola music for me. I just closed my eyes and listened to the most beautiful piece of music I've heard in a long time. When he finished playing, he puts it back into its case, stands, and walks out the doors to the terminal. I just stared after him. Weird and amazing. Pickles and I was just serenaded. Lol. God is awesome.